How's it going, guys? It's Nutshell here, and today we are going to be covering some of the best hideout items to craft in your hideout. And so with that being said, we're going to cover a couple of the ones that are super profitable now and will make you millions of rubles per day, and I've been using them for probably the last month. And of course, upgrading your hideout is going to be a requirement for some of these, but as we go through, you'll find ones that can earn you money as well as some that are actually going to increase your skill level, and choosing between both of these is going to really help you out massively with regards to the crafting skill, which is an underrated skill and of course is something you want to be working on initially to begin with when you do create your hideout. And basically improving this is going to help you out with the times at which the crafts actually take, and the higher this skill can get, it's going to really help you out. So I'll give you an idea as to how to improve this as we go through, and a couple of items that you can swap between every single time, because it's really important that you do swap between them. So without further ado, number one, it is the workbench. Now the workbench is one of the best things that you can get in your hideout, and of course the higher level of workbench you're going to be able to unlock multiple different crafts. But the craft that I've been doing since basically getting my workstation or workbench is essentially the wires. Now wires are something that are very sought after right now, at least at the beginning of the PVE Tarkov game mode, because of the fact that essentially they're used in so many different things, including upgrades to your hideout itself, alongside being used in a lot of barter trade, which people really want so that they can get certain items that are going to help them out with their stash, etc. So with that being said, you can see that we are currently crafting up our wires. Now this is my favorite one, and it's the one I focus on the most, because essentially I use these win my own barter trades, as well as sometimes selling them off as well. But if you are purely in it for profit and you are not going to be using the items, you can't be asked to actually use them in the barter trades to make even more money, which we'll cover in a video coming soon. But essentially you can look at power cords. Now you need 2 of these to be able to do this actual craft. Now obviously power cords, you can see here, sitting around 60k roughly is the sort of region which you actually want to purchase them for. Now obviously having 2 of them, it's going to cost you around 120k to actually do the craft. But how much do wires actually go for right now? Well, if you have a look, you can see that the average price, bar this top one, which is significantly undercut by everyone else, you can sell them for approximately about 35k roughly. And of course these will go down over time, so if you're watching this in a month's time, maybe the prices are slightly different, but equally the actual cords themselves will be cheaper as well. So with that being said, 35k times 8, we can actually work it out. I can put it on the screen, but it should be in the region of about 280k. So you're spending 120k and you're going to be able to actually get 280k back from actually doing this craft. So you're going to make about 160k profit every hour and a quarter or hour and 3/4. I believe it takes roughly in order to actually complete this craft. Might actually be slightly faster, but I believe it's about an hour and 40 minutes. So you can do this multiple times per day, and in fact I usually do it when I'm working, and then I come home from work. I can usually put this on, if I remember, about 3-4 times roughly, depending on how much you play. Obviously if you're playing all day, you're going to be able to complete multiple of these, probably 10 of them if you play a ton of Tarkov. But for most people, you're probably doing 3 per day, maybe even slightly less, maybe 2 if you're playing a couple hours. So with that being said, you can make about 400k per day just by putting on these, and of course that goes up depending on how many you do. So this is one of the key things that I will do when it comes to my hideout. It's a surefire way of making money. It is literally almost doubling your money every time that you do put in these cords. Obviously if you find the cords in raid, I always hold on to them and just use them, and then use these wires to then use in barter trades, making even more money. But the power cords themselves, that is one of the key things that I will use. Now, when it comes to actually leveling up your crafting skill, which is going to save you time on your crafts, you always want to be swapping between 2 different items. Now, when it comes to the hideout, it's obviously very dependent on how much certain things are costing right now. So for example, we can see that there are VOG25 hand grenades, and in order to actually purchase this, they are 37k right now. So this is something that I do use as well. So what you want to do is favorite them. You can use it using the heart. These are kind of ones that I will do between each other. Now, if you want to actually purchase one of these VOG25s, 37k roughly. But there's 8 of them coming out of just one of these VOG25 grenades. Now they do cost 60k each alongside a fuse, but the fuses are 15k, so you're spending about 75k in order to get 8 lots of 37k. So you're making almost the same amount as the wires, except it's actually costing you less. Now when you do complete the wires, I swap over to this one, and that will give you 1 point towards your crafting skill within the hideout. And so the more and more points you can get, and the more and more times that you can complete each of these crafts and then swap to another craft, complete that one, swap back to this one, essentially you're getting more and more points. If you only do one craft repeatedly, you don't get as many points towards a skill. If you're purely in it for money, just pick the one that gives you the most money, and you can work it out quite simply. Obviously these prices are going to change over time, and so yeah, make sure that you do check the prices before going ahead and doing them. I just want to make sure that you guys don't get caught out with some price changes that may or may not happen in the future. Same thing for basically all of these sorts of things. The capacitors also a potential one to do, as they were about 15k to 20k, but they're up at 30k now, and power supplies are also not very expensive. And so when you combine that together, a power supply costing you 99k, giving you 30k, and you're getting 6 of those, so you're getting 180k for 100k. So you know, you can work it out based on that, and obviously factor in the amount of time it takes for the crafts to actually complete. If you're making 100k every 10 minutes, it's better than making 200k in an hour, because you can get multiple of them done. So make sure you factor in the actual time it takes to do the craft. This is one of the easiest ways that you can make money, and the workbench is one of the best ways of doing that. Now, on to the next one, we have the lavatory. Now, the lavatory is one of those that I use primarily between 2 different items. Now, there are better ways of making money. You can use it using the gas mask to create gas mask air filters, but at the end of the day, these are kind of a loss or break even. And a lot of the stuff in here is generally break even kind of territory where you're not really making any money. But the 2 that I've been using are essentially the magazine case, which will generally net you about 100k profit, but it does take about 4.5 hours to actually complete. So this is the one that I'll do overnight. In terms of ones that I do during the day, it is the fleece fabric. This is because it's required for one of the hideout upgrades, and the fleece fabric itself is sitting about 35k. It only takes about 40 minutes or 35 minutes or something like that to actually complete this, and so it only requires 2 of these beanies. If you're enough in the ragman, so you've got ragman level 2, you can purchase these pro beanies, and you can purchase 4 of them. And of course, ragman's reset is pretty low, so by the time that you complete 2 of these, you're going to be able to buy another set of 4, and so it's basically infinite printing of money. Now, considering that you're spending 4k to make 35k, it is pretty decent, as well as getting you the points in the crafting upgrade. Now remember that you could just sell the beanies on their own for 26k, so you're not really making a whole lot of money from this, but it is leveling up your hideout or your crafting skill. So this is one thing that I always do. And actually recently I've just been swapping between the pro beanie and swapping between all of these to get the magazine case. So the fleece fabric and the magazine case are the ones that I swap between, and making sure that I do put this on overnight so that it's done when I get back in the morning or when I first log on during the day. Then, of course, we have the Intel Center. Now, the Intel Center is one of those that is actually not very profitable at all. And in fact, you're going to be spending a lot of money in order to upgrade your Intel Center that you're probably never going to make back from actually using the Intel Center itself, in terms of the ones that you can actually transform into said items. So currently we're working on an Intel folder. This is purely because I did not want any of the extra other things that we have available here. The graphics card, you can make money, but it takes 90 hours to be able to complete, and so it's just super long. And instead we went for an Intel folder, as I'll use the Intel folder for my scav case. And so with that being said, using the military flash drives and the paper, it worked out that it was just slightly cheaper than actually buying the Intel folder, so I make profit, and that's exactly what we're after. And it doesn't take a huge amount of time. It is still over a day to be able to do it, but it's something that we can have on in the background, and of course is going to level up our crafting skill as well. Obviously Intel Center is really crucial for reducing the scav cooldown timer, giving you more money, reducing the flea market commission, which is one of the biggest things that you'll be wanting from the Intel Center level 3, although it does require you to go on labs to be able to pick up one of these specific items to actually use it in the upgrade, which you can only get from labs. You can't actually purchase it off the flea market, so make sure that you do check that one out when you go into upgrade to Intel Center level 3. Then we have the Bitcoin farm. This is pretty much self-explanatory, but right now, considering that PvE does not have any wipes, getting your Bitcoin farm leveled up as quickly as possible is one of the biggest things that you can do, because the longer you leave it, the more and more these graphics cards are going to actually cost. And you can see they're currently up at 1 million right now. And in fact, when it comes to adding in the final bits of graphics cards, when my actual upgrade completes, which is in 24 hours, essentially an entire day, we'll be able to drop in the extra graphics card. We get an extra 15 when we do level up. Now, this is very expensive because you need military power filters, and of course you need the extra 15 graphics cards to actually drop in, but it does significantly decrease the time of your bitcoins to be produced, and so over time it's going to be worth it. So highly recommend actually upgrading your Bitcoin farm, especially considering there is no wipes. So something that is super crucial, and I really recommend. So whilst we're here, we might as well buy 3 more GPUs. So when we are ready to upgrade or finish the upgrade, we can then drop them straight in and get the benefit straight away. So one of the things to definitely note, if you want to save a bit more money over the course of your time on PvE Tarkov, I recommend actually upgrading your solar power. It's one thing that I haven't done myself yet. We could do it right now, but it is very expensive, and you won't see the return on investment for a long time. Each one of these military power filters is 2.7 million right now, which means just to upgrade, just for the military power filter, 27 million, alongside 25,000 euros, 400k for the phased array element. You're probably looking in the region of about 35 mil to upgrade to solar power, which does reduce your fuel consumption by 50%. So it's really handy and will save you a bit of money in the long run, about 80k per one of these that you're actually picking up. And in fact, you can pick up your metal fuel tanks from Jaeger for 160k when you do get him leveled up as a trader. And so I recommend purchasing them over the resets that Jaeger has. And you can get 1 per reset, and that is going to be way lower than the actual time that it takes to deplete one of these. So that's what I always do, and it's the cheapest way of buying the actual fuel. So making sure that you get solar power, maybe later on down when the prices of these come down, because everyone is trying to get them. Scav case, this is one of the biggest things that you can get, but it does require you to get your traders leveled all the way up, and it takes a ton of time to actually make. Now, right now on PvE Tarkov, this is probably the biggest thing that I use to make money passively. It takes about 4.5 hours to just under 5 hours to actually fully complete my intelligence folder. Now, intel folders right now are sitting at about 200k, and I've picked up a ton of them previously for about 140k because I know that they always go up during wipes, and that's because more and more people get scav cases, more and more people doing this, and so we're going to make more money. With the intelligence folders, essentially you're guaranteed to get yourself at least your money back currently as it stands on essentially the PvE mode of Tarkov, because you're used to getting weapons. You also find some keys, and you'll find extra valuable rewards in here, as well as having the possibility of getting yourself some super expensive key cards and that sort of stuff out of the scav case, although it is very rare to do that. Consistently makes money for me, and probably consistently makes me around about 100 to 150k per intelligence folder, as we make about 300 to 400k per intel folder actual getting the scav case. Then it comes down to the next bit, which is your nutrition unit. Now, this is something that I always neglected when I was playing Tarkov, but it's actually one of the best ways I'm making money right now on the game, at least from the hideout. And that's because essentially we have the craft for moonshine and 5 bottles of water to create 10 bottles of vodka, which are required if you want to do the big, and I mean big, barter trade for the thick case. Now, the actual vodkas themselves are selling for about 55k each, and you get 10 of them, so 550k. You've got yourself a bottle of fierce hatchling moonshine, which actually comes down to about 300k. You can see there 315k to be able to get it. It's probably gone by now, but essentially you can just keep refreshing until you find one that's significantly cheaper, or just buy the top one. It doesn't really matter, but it will save you a bit of money. And then you can buy the water and you can buy 5 of them, which is just the right amount to actually do the trade itself. And so that's 50k plus about 350, so 400k. You're making about 150k. And the good thing about the nutrition unit is that you can actually do this in about an hour and 30 minutes, I believe, to actually do the Tarkovskaya vodka, which is really good. So you're making about 200k every 2 hours, so about 100k an hour, which is really, really nice and has made me a ton of money. In terms of like other ones that you can do to essentially make a little bit of money, but is to level up your crafting, is actually this one right here. You can do the max energy drink, which you get 4 of them. They're about sitting at, I believe, at about 15k to 20k. So you get about 80k back, and it probably costs you about 80k, something like that, for all of the requirements. Or you can do the Voss water bottles, which essentially require you to get bottled water and some croutons, and it's pretty much a break even as well. So this is one I do in between. The lower the time, the better. So then we can get back to doing the vodkas to level up our crafting. Then we move on to the water collector. This is one that is just generally gonna make you a ton of money. This is because all you need is a water filter, and water filters right now are insanely cheap. I've never seen them this cheap, and they make you a canister with purified water, which if you actually want to purchase is nearly 300k. But a water filter itself, if we have a look, is only 32k. So you're making 240k every 5 hours, which is crazy. And of course, the better your crafting level, the lower this time is going to get. And so we're sitting about 4 hours and 30 minutes, something in that region, 4 hours, 45 minutes, something like that. So every single time that this goes down, just make sure that you do check back in here and make sure that you have got a water filter in here, because they do run out, and they roughly will last 7 hours. So it will get you 1.5 of these actual canisters of purified water. So that's another thing you can do. So make sure that you do check back, as halfway through it will probably run out on the second one that you do. Then we've got the boost generator, which will give you a moonshine. Now, this is something that I do just purely for the crafting level, but as you go through the wipe, these waters will actually come down in price. And you need the 2 sugars. Sugars are about 40k right now, so it's actually running at a loss if you actually do the moonshine, but I'm simply doing it purely to make some money, or make my crafting skill go up. So that is what we're doing, and that is just basically going to be beneficial. Obviously you can't do multiple different ones, so it's just a cyclic version of all of the other kind of hideout areas in the hideout. So make sure that you do actually just double check on this. It's 3 hours to actually do it, as I'm currently doing it right now. Then we have the med station. This is the best trade that I do, which is the pile of meds. Essentially, it costs you about 30k, and the meds themselves sell for about 20k each. So 30k to make 60k, really, really nice. And it's just a very, very easy way of producing it. And then I swap between, you know, upgrading some of my one-use items, things like, for example, the getting ourselves Salewers, or maybe using to get CMS kits. They usually run at a loss, some of these, but it's only like a 5k loss or something like that. So I just used it purely to level up my crafting, and that is going to save us time and money in the future. And the sooner that you do it, the better it's going to be. So there you go, we got ourselves the vodkas, and we can essentially, just because I'm lazy and I don't mind not actually getting the crafting level up directly, we can hand those over, and there you go, we're back up to getting ourselves 1 hour and 32 minutes. And of course you can see here when we do come to actually sell the vodkas, they're sat at 57k. Now, one of the big things that you'll note is that there's 10 of these, and because the barter trade requires you to have 50 of them, if you want to do it for the thick case, it is going to require you to get a ton of them. So actually the price of 10 stack ones is actually higher than all of the lower ones. So I always put them up slightly higher because they always get bought out in a bunch. So hopefully you'll see it sell pretty quickly as someone picks them all up in one go, because it only costs them an extra little bit of money to actually do that. So that's something I always do when it comes to the nutrition unit and selling those vodkas. Of course, there we go. We finished off the meds, and we can put it back onto doing the salewers. We can purchase 2 of these, hopefully not 4, but there we go. And a couple of these, and there we go, 37 minutes, and then we'll be back on to making the money from the actual meds, and then we can move on. So that is basically the key items that I use and kind of the ways in which I make money. So overall, I probably make in the region of about 1 to 1.5 million per day just purely using these. It takes, like, when you know what you're doing and you've worked it all out and you're using the trades that I'm using here, I make about, 1 to 1.5 million per day with about 15 minutes of actual doing anything during that entire day. So it's very, very lucrative and very, very good way of making some extra money using your hideout. And when you do manage to get yourself to the hideout crafting level 50, which is a long way away, but it is possible, then you are going to be able to do double trades or double crafts on each of the stations. So you'll be able to almost double the profit that you're going to be doing and make stuff much better when it comes to your crafting. And of course, it's very useful for doing some of the tasks that you might get, which are find and transfer. So the hideout is one of the best ways that I make money in the game. So with that being said, that is the kind of crafts that I'll do to make money every single day on Tarkov. If you enjoyed it, then please consider subscribing and of course liking the video, and I will see you in the next one coming tomorrow. Goodbye.